The conference round of the playoffs has ended, and the stage is set for the Super Bowl. We recap how this past week turned out, continue our new segment, plus the NFL news, all this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome back to the Average Bros Fantasy Show, sponsored by Fantasy Sports Alliance and Football Darts. I'm not even going to waste time. I'm just going to bring him in here. Kevin, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic, Josh. I am living the dream, as one would as a Buccaneers fan. Patriots fan. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Before we get into tonight's show, I just noticed, I believe it was earlier today. Today is January 26th, 2021. So that means that I just wanted to mention a year ago, we lost one of the greatest basketball players to ever step foot on a basketball court. I felt it was only above average to bring up losing Kobe Bryant, as well as his daughter, Gigi, and then everybody else that was lost last year. Like I said, it just seemed like the above average thing to do. And of course, before we get into tonight's show, we would like to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your own home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com. And if you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the show, and follow us on all of our social media outlets, which you can see here at the bottom of the screen. And check out our website, fsa-fr.com. And I don't know if they're having a show this weekend, but however, if they are, go check out the Empty Wagon guys, Brad, Josh, and Eric. Ton of comedy. I know they're talking about a bunch of like off-season things. Like, who to trade for, who to keep, basically people that are hot commodities on your team. And I mean, yeah. Kevin, what do we have on deck for tonight?
Tonight, we review the Bills' upsetting loss last week to Patty Mahomes. Going back to the Super Bowl again. Tom Brady going back as well. And then a little, where are they now a little bit later?
So, what game do you want to go into first? You want to continue with the Bills' upsetting loss? Do you want to go up north?
We'll start there.
All right. I mean, what do you think went wrong for them? Let me ask you that.
I just think a poorly executed game plan. They weren't able to hit Diggs deep. That was really it. There was a lot of overthrown balls on Josh Allen's side of things. Missed a lot of open receivers. I won't say open, but a lot of balls that had to be perfectly timed were just a little bit overthrown. They were getting the pressure to them. Had a couple good runs, but not enough to carry the team. And then no one else really stepped up for them. You didn't really see much of any other receiver or out of the run game either, and just everything clicked right for Mahomes and the Chiefs. Who, after they stopped them, I believe, the first drive, and I thought that the Bills were going to have a chance, getting the ball back, and they had a couple plays on defense, but not enough to come up and keep Mahomes out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, to sum it up, field goals weren't going to be enough to take down the six-headed offense that Kansas City pretty much had with Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey. Hardman, Damian Williams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There were so many pieces that were just clicking for them. I know Hardman had the mistake early in the game, which led to a Buffalo touchdown, but he did, bounce back. He had the big run a couple drives later, and then he had the touchdown. It was just Buffalo's offense was just coming up short. They couldn't finish on most drives. And we kind of saw a couple shades of a young Josh Allen before he kind of corrected the accuracy. And, hopefully they can just kind of bounce back from that, learn from this mistake, and they'll be back in the playoffs next year. We all know that with how the AFC East is shaping up.
Yeah, I mean, you figure it's a step in the right direction, regardless, win or lose for them, right? Getting to the championship game. Last year they make the playoffs. They win in the first round against the Ravens, get out of the wild card round and lose. I believe it was to the Chiefs then again. I'll have to double check that. I'm not sure who kicked them out last year.
Was it? It was either the Chiefs, or I thought it was. No, it wasn't the Titans.
No, Titans beat the Patriots, and then they lost the next round of separate games. I forget who the Chiefs played in the AFC Championship game, but whoever it was, our stat guy is on it. He'll let us know. You go from that last year being, one win and done, come in this year and get another game further, another step closer to the ring. You got to be proud regardless.
Stat guy in the house. You know what? I'm going to change my name on the bottom of the screen. It actually says stat guy just on Tuesday nights. So they lost in the first round to Houston last year.
Oh, so it was in the first round. Okay.
Yeah, and then Kansas City beat Houston in the next round.
Okay. Yeah, so if you take a look at that, you move forward, now getting all the way to the AFC Championship game. And for the most part, hanging in there, I won't say necessarily a blowout, but, showing that you could at least compete a bit. There was glimpses of hope there, just, couldn't necessarily figure it out and string two drives together. But, kudos to them. I think that he should have won Coach of the Year in Sean McDermott. But I see this team getting here again next year.
Yeah, I see them getting to the same the same stage next year, maybe even the Super Bowl. But I think it just comes down to on the AFC side, who's going to beat the Chiefs. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Chiefs going back to back. So I mean, that's pretty much what it comes to.
Let me ask this question since you guys are bringing this up. Back this up around, and we're talking about who can beat the Chiefs. Is this going to be a regular thing? Do we see Buffalo and Kansas City in AFC Championship for years to come? Like, who else is going to take either one of those two teams out right now?
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
Okay, fine. I'll go first. So, I mean, for most of the season, everybody thought that it was going to be Pittsburgh, but I just think that Pittsburgh's offense wouldn't be able to keep up with Kansas City. So personally, I think if there was going to be a team, it's either going to be the Bills or it's going to be the Ravens. As long as they can get weapons out wide, then, those could be two contenders right there.
I think a couple of the guys mentioned in the chat group earlier this week of the quality of wide receivers that are free agents this year and the possibility of Baltimore and being able to go out and grab them. So I think that's a possibility. And, not to throw shade on any of our Steeler fans out there. I think we all thought it was great that they were 11-0, but whenever they finally got that first loss, now we all had, backwards foresight and said, well, they never played anybody when they went 11-0. So, and then I'll jump off after I ask this question. You don't have to go deep. I don't know if you're talking about it later. Does Big Ben come back next year?
So I'll go first on that, then answer the other question of who else I see in the AFC there. I personally think he does not. They brought Haskins in. I think that was writing on the wall saying, hey, if he doesn't, I think that our team is strong enough to work with Haskins and get him up and going. Is it the right move? Probably not. But I don't think they really have the funds to go out and get anybody. They'll probably draft a quarterback anyway. So at least it's a stopgap for a year, similar to what the Patriots did with getting Cam for a year. And I know that's the direction they want to move as the league moves mobile. It's not a bad starting spot. Definitely not a winning route to go. But if you look at who's in their division, they've got to face a Lamar. They've got to face Burrow. They've got to, go out and face um, Baker Mayfield. So all guys that can run a little bit, having one in house may help them. On the defensive side of the ball, give them different looks that they weren't necessarily used to that led to their ultimate demise. So I don't think they will be competitive next year. I don't think they were really competitive this year outside of their record. I know that's a hard one to say with 11 straight wins, but I think they just won against teams or either bad teams or teams on off weeks. So moving forward with the AFC, I think that you'll see a lot of teams step up. I think that the Bills are obviously there to stay. I think the Browns are there to stay. I don't think Lamar and the Ravens are. I think that they keep stepping back. I don't think Lamar has turned enough to be more pocket than mobile to force teams to accept his deep ball. I think that Burrow can be serious there if they get him some help. AJ Green is a top free agent this year, so not that really helped them all too much, but as long as he's healthy. You have the Chargers in the AFC, so who are they going to go with at quarterback? If it's Herbert, then I see them as being dangerous as long as their running backs can stay healthy. So I think that there will be a closing of the gap in the AFC. I still think that obviously the Chiefs are the team to beat, and they will be up top until they're dethroned. But I don't think that it will be as runaway as it was this year. We all kind of, we all wanted the Bills to be in the Super Bowl, but we all really knew that this was the most likely the outcome that we were going to see.
Yeah, I agree with.
I'm going to jump in there and say not the most likely. You only say that because you're a Tom Brady fan. You fair weather Tampa Bay fan. Green Bay should be in the Super Bowl right now.
I mean, out of the AFC.
So
out of the AFC,
okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, I'm gonna touch on the Big Ben thing. You said that he's not coming back.
I don't think so. No.
So I'm gonna touch on the Big Ben. I think he does because I think they bring him back for one more season. That's to either train Haskins or, like you said, go out and draft a QB, train him up for a season. So that's that. As far as, you saying there's a bunch of other teams that could be in the running on the AFC side, I do agree with you. However, with the Chargers and Herbert and Burrow and the Bengals, I can kind of agree with you there, but I think I would need to see more out of them. If you were to ask me, come next season and they're doing well, they're both fighting for the division, then yes, I'll agree with you. But I think that those teams are still a little too young to get there. But as far as short term, I think the Bills are the best well-rounded. And as far as the NFC side, I think Green Bay just got a little taste of what New Orleans goes through, because I do believe there were some missed calls. There were calls that were thrown that they didn't call before. So I just want to say, welcome to the New Orleans era. Welcome to the New Orleans curse. It's not fun.
Both teams considered to have top quarterbacks of at least this era, possibly in the all-time talks of at least being up there in Aaron Rodgers and in Breeze. Both have only ever won one NFC championship game. The same amount of NFC championship games Tom Brady has won. Just going to say that.
And if we're going to, okay, fine. If we're going to back up stats, Breeze won the NFC championship once. And what did that lead to? That led to a Super Bowl ring.
Same with Rodgers. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a Packers fan. I don't think we have our Packers fan here tonight.
Not yet.
No, not
Sean
yet.
Purcell on with us, staying first.
MIA right now. I was trying to figure out where he was at, but Sean Purcell is not MIA. He's on with us right now. Sean, how are you?
I think we all know where he is. He's busy. He's recuperating. It was
Should
a
we
tough
turn him
loss.
into a meme? Turn him into the meme holding the picture? What could have been?
Yeah, what could have been? Kim says,
Yeah,
"Hi, Kevin and Josh. How you doing, Kim?" MJ says Ben will be back. I think so too. I think so, but I don't think they have a Super Bowl mentality. I don't think they do. I think they come. I think he comes back just as a mentor. I think we're slowly starting to lose Kevin there. And I mean, we're talking about last week's games. We haven't even gotten into the NFC side, and we're talking about the NFC, but haven't really gotten into the game. Oh yeah, Kevin's.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his internet over there right now. Kevin, are you there with us, brother?
He's completely frozen for me until he decides to pop back in. Brian, what are your thoughts on Tampa Bay at Green Bay?
What I found interesting is I was watching the game and I even made the comment out, and then I saw the commentator say the same thing, that they hadn't thrown a flag in a really long time in that game. No flags thrown, right? And then all of a sudden, and again, if Damian was here, he would call us out on this because he was saying the same thing in the chat group. You know, when do you finally throw that first flag? Whenever they did, you know, why on that play and why not on other plays, kind of thing, right?
There he is.
There he is. Kevin, I think I might have been your big Ben Roethlisberger stopgap. You're back now. Tampa Bay at Green Bay, your thoughts?
Tampa Bay at Green Bay. I think that the game was not necessarily lost on the penalties. I know that there's been some back and forth. You know, you can't call one and not call the other. I think that in my career, if you will, playing any type of sport, whether it's high school, college, backyard with friends, a beer league, you never ever leave the game in the hands of the referees. If you do, that's on you if a call does not go your way. You cannot complain if you lose because of a ref because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. With that being said, Matt LaFleur put them in that position. They should not have kicked the field goal. They should have went for the touchdown, which you needed the touchdown anyway. So now if you score the touchdown, you can go back and kick later, which puts the pressure on Brady, who you gave the ball to with 2 minutes left. Why you think that that's a great idea, I don't know. But I think that was the demise.
And first of all, I completely agree. You know, it was 23-31. You're down by 8. You know, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, game's tied. I'd rather give Brady the ball with that predicament where he's in either I have to score or we're going into overtime type of deal, rather than give him the ball with like 2 minutes and whatever left on the clock. And he's like, okay, we just have to run the ball. That's it. We just need to shoot the clock. And the other thing is, I feel, and I'm sorry, but this is really starting to become a little more clear. Is the NFL rigged?
I don't think so.
Is it rigged?
So you know what? I said this in a chat group earlier this week, right? I said, is the NFL the WWE? And I think because of what happened this weekend, Damian brought it back up again as well and said something like that too. Are they entertainers? Yes. Are we on an entertainment level beyond what the WWE is? There was actually a story that came out on Twitter that got taken down really, really quick about a former player that says that this is a true statement as well, that this is what it is. I can't see it. I can't. So let's look at NFL all by itself of the 4 major sports. I don't see that being a thing in any of the other 3 major sports. Like you can't do that in baseball. Like the skill that it takes to do baseball like that, basketball, hockey, maybe a little bit in NFL you could, but for this to set the tone and be a thing across all major sports is just the biggest piece of entertainment. I can't see it happening. But so much happened this year that made you feel like the whole Baltimore game and it getting moved as many times that it did, and how they get played favorites over somebody else, and all of the other things that kind of went along with it, things that we didn't even think about, with that. Is it like, how would you control that on a stage like this?
Maybe by telling a head coach to kick a field goal when he really needs a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie the game.
So what happens if he misses that field goal? So what does that do to the game at that moment?
So, I mean, okay, yeah, if he misses the field, if he's going for the field goal because somebody higher up is telling him to do it, they're basically saying, we need you to lose the game. So basically, whether he makes that field goal or misses it, they're still going to lose regardless.
True.
See,
I feel it would more be believable that everything's real if they told them, hey, you need to get a touchdown, and then they don't get it. Then that's just like, okay, that's just poor execution on the offense.
At the very least, they should have at least tried it, because that was the right thing to do at that moment, was to go for the touchdown and not go for the field goal. If they didn't get it, oh well, but you did the right thing.
I'd rather you try for the touchdown and not get it rather than just,
field goal.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's not the first time that we've seen in these circumstances odd play calls and been defended by coaches, a la the not running Marshawn Lynch on the 2-yard line.
So the NFL being rigged dates back to a while ago.
See, that argues to the point that yes, it's nothing but the WWE a little bit more because of that play. Everybody knew that they were going to run the ball. That's what they should have done, and they didn't.
And well, at the same time, I can kind of defend that because, yes, everybody knew they were going to run the ball because, I mean, Marshawn Lynch, he was beast mode at the time. The dude was an absolute freak. So maybe they, thought that New England expected that, so they wanted to throw him off guard with a pass.
Yeah, but that goes back that's I saw a 30 for 30 on the Bears where they have a game, I believe a Super Bowl, where they could have ran the ball in for a touchdown, had an unbelievable game on the ground, and they throw for the win. So I think it's all too much analytics versus, hey, what is the best play right here? Who is my best player? Let's put it in their hands. And I just don't think that in these situations the coaches think right. Could it be hot seat, playing into it? Are you thinking more, I have to do the safer route, take the field goal, just get the points, because if we miss the extra point, if we miss the 2 points, we need a field goal anyway. So let's just get it now. There's so many things that take it into effect, but the thing that stands out for me, where I don't believe anything is staged or faked or laid out or planned, is the fact that people have to realize that each individual team is its own business. The owners, it's not like a conglomerate where the NFL consists of the 32 owners and a commissioner. That's the NFL. People don't realize that the NFL, when they have votes and stuff, it's just the owners because they have stake in it. It's not like a company or a faction. It's just a conglomerate of the teams. So for me to tell 32 millionaires separately, and that's if there was only one owner, which we know that there's not, right? That there's multiple people have different stakes. To get that many guys with egos that want trophies and want yachts and private jets with 6 rings on the back of it, to tell me that all of those guys are going to put one player or one team into the Super Bowl and the other team has to suck and wear bags on their head because they're giving up, so much, it is unrealistic for me to believe that any of that could happen.
And I agree with that too. But another piece of entertainment to add to this whole argument was I watched a video last night of Brady and Gronk walking across the tarmac, getting ready to leave Green Bay, right? And Brady's got this smug look on his face. Gronk is doing Gronk things or whatever. Gronk pulls his shirt up and it says NFC Champs under it, right? And it struck me because I remember seeing a very similar video to when Brady picked up Gronk at the airport when they first signed him after going to Tampa Bay, right? And I thought, God, I got to go find that video. How similar are these two things happening? Somebody else must have had the same thought because they did a split screen and put both videos next to each other. And I swear to God, it's looking like the exact same thing.
So they spoofed. What they did actually was they spoofed the last year that they had played together when they went to the Super Bowl. It was the Rams Super Bowl. They made that video, and
Mhm.
Gronk pulls up the shirt and has AFC champions on it. They
Mhm.
remade literally the same video now with the NFC championship
Well,
T-shirt. So
then there's a video in
yeah, that was
between because the AFC, I don't remember him pulling the shirt up in the airport when they picked him up in Tampa Bay when they very first got there. If you find all
yeah.
three of those videos and piece them together, he might not have pulled his shirt up, but their gestures and facial and expressions and everything, like it was rehearsed, like they knew this was going to happen, kind of thing.
Kind of like it was staged.
Yeah, kind of like that. I'm dipping out of here for a little bit.
All right. I think we kind of all got our says in, our opinions in on the games and how rigged the NFL can be. But that brings us to the NFL news brought to you by The Recast, the official music of FSA. Actually not too much. I'll real quick, Kevin, bring it in. Here's the man of the hour.
Glad we could have you. I see you skipped your favorite part, the portion where we talk about Rodgers riding the bench, aka not in the Tom Brady Invitational.
Well, I mean, it's not like we have much room to talk about. First of all, your team didn't even make the playoffs. My team got knocked out by the same quarterback, by the quarterback that he's wearing right now. So, I mean, welcome to the party, bud. Welcome to the party. We have nice beverages, chips, dip. Get comfortable. Kicking off the NFL news. I actually, you know what? I don't have it on here, but I think now that Damien's here, we can kind of talk about it. Rodgers. What do you think happens to him?
I think he stays. I think I saw reports coming out that he was going to get traded or moved off of the Packers. Well, and then some reports saying that he might contemplate retirement. I think all of that is, fake news. I think that he plays on, he stays a Packer. I think he's hungry and comes back for another one with them. I don't see them trading him. I don't see him retiring.
Yeah, I didn't really see the retirement thing. I saw how he had a lot to think about. There were speculations that he was going to be asking for more money because of the season that he had. But yeah, honestly, I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think Packers would let him walk to any other team. Damien says, all I care about is how Drew Brady is doing. Not too well. I'll tell you, not too well. He's recovering over the loss that he had to suffer. And then on to the next QB on the hot seat for trade rumors. We have Matt Stafford. The trade talks have began to start as far as who's talking to who. I didn't see that, but I know we were talking about it a little bit over this past week. Maybe the Colts top landing spot for him.
I don't know. It should be interesting because if you look at now two prominent quarterbacks, Matt Stafford, who I've always been a fan of ever since his rookie year, he had two games. One I actually saw the video of where he, I believe it was, he tore a muscle in his throwing arm, and then he popped the other one out of the socket in his other arm and came back to win a game. And then there was the miracle game where he actually played with the broken collarbone in the throwing arm and threw like this over top of himself for the Hail Mary. Ever since then, I've always liked the guy, just my type of player and passer, pure pocket guy. Him asking to be released and be traded. Deshaun Watson definitely still moving forward, coming out every day. More news about how things are in disrepair there, opening up to even more teams that he would rather go and play for. But I really just want to see how that plays out because there's so many other teams right now that have quarterbacks that are essentially free agents. You have, I'll run down the list. real quick. Dak Prescott, Jacoby Brissett, Mitch Trubisky, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tyrod Taylor, AJ McCarron, Andy Dalton, Colt McCoy, Nathan Peterman, RG3 is still on here. Sudfeld, Cam Newton, Joe Flacco. Geno Smith is still in the league. Blaine Gabbert's still in the league. Jameis is technically a free agent still, or now. Blake Bortles, Kyle Allen, Joe Webb, Joshua Dobbs. He's the backup from the Steelers. I mean, there's a ton out there. Josh Rosen, Nicky Mullins.
So pretty much going down that list, if there's anyone who would compete with the caliber that Deshaun Watson is at, the only name that came to mind was Dak. But I think Dallas is going to bring Dak back. I think that they loved him when he was out there. They loved him for what he did for the beginning of the season, even though it was kind of, mixed emotions there, wins and losses.
Well, they just don't love it. The reason why they wouldn't bring him back is because they don't love his price tag, right? I mean, he was asking to be paid top dollar, and he was the specialty tag that they put on him that he made $36 million last year. So he was already, top tier paid. Because I think he was paid just above average. I think he was paid the average of the top 5 quarterbacks. So you're getting top 5 money for an underperforming year. So if a guy like Deshaun Watson comes in, and who I believe is a better quarterback than Dak, and asks for less money.
So I wouldn't really call it an underperforming year, because when he was healthy, I believe he was leading the NFL in passing yards up until his injury. So I wouldn't necessarily call it an underperforming. I think it was just unfortunate that he had his season-ending injury. And just because we have the comment up here for so long, Damian says Stafford will be a 49er. Jimmy G back to the Patriots. Do you want Jimmy G?
I wouldn't be opposed from it. I didn't want him to leave, but it's just all about the money and who you can bring in. I personally have already said that I want Watson, so I wouldn't look at anybody else until he's signed somewhere. I don't know why they haven't called him already, but
I mean,
if I'm Bill,
they have. I mean, he said that as far as right now, I believe he said the front runners that he wants to go play for is the Jets.
Jets and Miami.
Yeah, Jets and Miami. So
Miami hasn't really responded because they've got because they still have Tua. What do you do if you got Tua? But the Jets, however, you've got Darnold, who is going to be in his 4th year next year. Coming up at the end of his rookie contract, he signed Watson. You could still get a pick or so for him, for Darnold, or even keep him as the backup. So they've got money to spend. If you have to bring him in and re-sign, you've got the picks to give up, because you're basically giving back. I believe you're giving back Houston their first, and so they do have the option to go out and do it. I just personally don't want to see him in my division, not on my team.
So pretty much, I mean, well, first of all, Watson going to the Jets, I wouldn't necessarily say that immediately makes them a playoff caliber team, because of how great the other teams are around them. I mean, the Dolphins, literally just missed the playoffs. The Bills are going to be the Bills for a while. Let's be honest there. But I mean, as far as Watson, there really is no trade, right? He is a free agent, correct?
No, he would have to be traded.
Okay,
because he had just signed. He just signed a 5-year deal.
Okay, yeah. So basically, in Houston's eyes, who would you rather have, Tua or Darnold?
I mean, if I'm trading for one of those players, I would probably take Tua. But if you're the Jets, you probably don't have to trade them a quarterback, because if you're the Jets, you're going to be trading the second pick to them. So they're just going to go sign Fields or Lawrence, whichever one's not taken by the Jags.
Well, okay,
so I don't really need a quarterback back.
Okay, then let me ask you this: who would you rather have, Tua or Fields?
I would probably take Tua still. I think that you take a guy that's already in the league, already 1 year proven. versus a bigger question mark unknown than Fields. I'm not really a fan of signing rookies or trading for rookies you really don't know. We've seen it time and time again. First round, first 5 pick busts versus where was Lamar Jackson taken? 32nd overall.
Yeah.
We look at guys so far back in the first, or Kurt Warner, undrafted Super Bowl champion. There's so many other options out there versus top 2 guy, in my opinion.
Damien says Watson, no trade clause is very powerful. He will go to the team he wants or possible threaten to hold out. And
it's true.
That might tie into Houston might be forced to take Fields. They might be forced to trade him to the Jets for the number 2 pick and go from there. I don't know. I think obviously it is still way too early. We only know where he wants to go. We don't know where he is going.
I look at this. If he holds out, he's only hurting himself, because if you're Houston, you go out and you get a quarterback anyway, if you think he's threatening to hold out. So you go out and you get a quarterback. He holds out, you don't have to pay him because it's his choice not to play. He's withdrawing himself. So not only does you don't have to pay him because he's in breach of contract, he can be fined by the NFL, which he'll have to eat. So I think that if you're the Houston, I wouldn't let that determine the trade. I would go out, and if you can't get what you want for him in a trade, then you don't do it and you just look elsewhere. I mean, it's not like you're not that far back in picks anyway. I don't think they've got a first, but they could certainly buy one to get into one.
Where are they? Okay, yes, so they don't have.
Stat guy is here.
Hello.
Hi. What you need to know? You want to know where Houston's picking up in the upcoming draft?
Well, I know they don't have a first.
No,
Miami has their first.
Okay. Let me see if I can't find for you all.
That was the other thing. The other reasoning to trade with Miami, you would get your own first back. So you know that they've got the first round picks. I believe they have Houston's first and second. I believe. I'm not 100% on that, but I know Miami has like 7 picks in the first 5 rounds or something like that. So they've got the pick cap to do it. And the Jets have the actual dollars to go out and buy whoever they want.
Everything I'm pulling up right now just has the first round so far. Trying to see beyond that.
What else in news did you have for us, Josh?
Sorry, I'm so basically I was looking on ESPN at the draft order, and they had the draft order, but above it they had a video of it was a mock draft that they were doing, and the video had the Jets at the number 1 overall pick, and I'm like, wait, when was this video posted? That's why I kind of had like a weird look on my face. Real quick, Damien.
That was natural.
Nice. Damien says, I believe both the Jets and Dolphins have 5 picks in the first round or first 3 rounds this year. I think it was natural that it was going to happen. I mean, the Jets and the Dolphins are closer to finishing their rebuilding stage because they seemed like they were doing very well throughout the season. It was just the AFC was just stacked altogether.
And they keep their coach year over year, so they still have Florian down there.
Yeah, Brian Flores.
Flores,
yeah, Mr. Flowers. Rams GM says Goff is a Ram, and it's too early to speculate.
Texans' first pick in the upcoming draft is in the 3rd round, 3rd pick, 67th overall.
Yeah. So
okay. Real quick then, Stacker, I'm going to give you a job to do. Okay. So we'll start with the 3rd round on. Okay. Can you find what QBs were drafted from the 3rd round on that were great QBs
in history?
I mean,
recent. Since
you
you've
can keep
been alive.
That's 21 years right there. You want to go all the way back to 99?
Oh my God, such a youngin.
You can keep it recent.
Okay.
You can keep it recent.
I'll look at let's see, it's 20, we're gonna go 2021 season. Let me look about the last 10 years. Let me look the last decade, see who we got beyond the third round, see if anybody's good that's still playing.
Okay. Seems fair. While he's doing that, like I just said, Rams GM says Goff is still a Ram and it's too early to speculate. Do you think that they're done with him?
I don't think so. I think that they've got enough other pieces there. Still have a solid defense. Probably the top defense almost all year long. They found their run game again. I believe in pieces anyway. They have Akers, right?
Yeah.
So
Akers.
I think that they're going to start to piece things together. I don't think they give up on Goff just yet. So I believe that to be true.
Honestly, until I honestly can't even tell you. First of all, I don't know. I mean, he shows glimpses of being a great quarterback, then he shows glimpses of where he should be traded away. But I agree with that statement. It's too early to speculate where he's going. Next, Lions add former Eagles coach Deuce Staley as assistant head coach and running backs coach. Let me bring this down here so I'm not looking up. Eagles hire ex-Chargers offensive coordinator Shane, and I can't even pronounce his last name. It sounds like Steichen as new offensive coordinator, and the Chargers hire Saints QB coach Joe Lombardi as their new offensive coordinator. Bunch of moves going on so far, and the NFL season isn't even over, pretty much. Bunch of moves. People being cut, people being signed, or well, coaches being signed, and players being signed. And I mean, that pretty much wraps it up now for the NFL news. So Kevin, this is your segment. So I'm going to let you do it. I've been doing enough talking as it is.
Yeah, about time you were a little quieter. I know Damien would enjoy that. So that brings us up to our news segment. Where are they now? What we're going to do is go through a couple of rounds, see how many we get to tonight of last year's redraft league, and look at the ADP, the average draft position of the players. We are going to start in round 3 tonight. If you want to see who was drafted in rounds 1 and 2, please go back and download our podcast. You can find that on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, anywhere that you get your podcast for your listening pleasures. Go out, listen to myself and Josh on Average Bros on the Tuesday show where we did the first round, and then the trio of us, myself, Josh, and our stat guy, our leader, Brian, as we review the second round last Wednesday. We'll kick it off round 3 here today. Let me pull up my handy dandy list brought to you by Damien, the mad scientist. Thank you again on going through this for us. Round 3, 301, George Kittle. And let me explain to everybody who is watching and listening at home, the millions of fans around the world, what we're doing here is giving our opinion on where they should go, either higher or lower. So George Kittle was drafted in the 3rd round with the first pick of that round. And I'm going to ask Josh and our above average stat guy, whether Kittle will go higher next year in the draft, which would put him in the 2nd round, or later in the draft, depending on our evaluation of how he performed this year or lack thereof because of his injuries.
I'll start off because I'm still doing my homework for Average Josh as well. So I can say it's a very good possibility he gets drafted in the same spot next year. However, he won't be. I think through our list so far, this is our 2nd tight end taken, correct?
Correct. He is number 2.
Yeah, I don't see him being the 2nd tight end taken, but I could still see him being drafted in this spot. And I'm back to my homework.
Okay, so I'm gonna agree with actually real quick. Sorry, I saw this this comment from Damien. Damien said search under FSA not average bros if looking for the podcast. Yes, when you go over to Anchor, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff, make sure you guys search Fantasy Sports Alliance. We are all under the same umbrella, both Average Bros and Fanatically Real Broadcast. As far as Kittle, I 100% agree with Brian. I think he drops a little bit down to in the third round, but I think that he is not the second tight end picked. I think it'll be Kelsey, Waller, maybe Kittle, because you have Ertz being traded most likely. We're signing with a new team, and then Mark Andrews just performed poorly this year, in my opinion. So late third round.
I agree with you. I believe that he does drop. I don't believe he drops far. He might drop out of this round. He might go round 4 because I believe him swapping with Waller may happen. But I will go out and I will tell you right now, next year, if I have the first overall pick again, I will take a tight end. First overall pick. And the reason why I bring that up is because of what Damien had mentioned here. He says, does tight end premium change anything, whether we have it or not? And I say no. Because if you go out and you look and you do your homework, as I know Damien does because he made this list for us, if you were to take, based on ADP last year, you could have drafted Kittle, who was a first-round pick, so you take him 101. Then you could take Josh Allen in the second round, and you could take, say, a Mike Evans, a Godwin, a Fournette, all in the third round. Okay, and you have the turnaround there. So with that means that you would have the top 3. You have 3 top 3 picks at each position. So for me, it does not matter premium or not because you are looking position to position. I need a top 12 tight end, regardless of the points that he's going to score, because I have to look, because I have to start one. It's not like saying, the number 24 receiver or running back for a filler spot. You're only starting 12 anyway. So regardless of the overall points that he scores, I still need to get one. So for me, I don't have Kittle dropping far because of that, because he's a top 3 tight end, and they're going to go quickly, at least those 3. But for me, I see him going a little further than where he went last year.
Agreed.
And then Damien says, there's a reason tight ends don't go high first round. Don't be that guy, Kevin. Analytics are getting to your head. Trust me, I will go through this every single year. If you go back and we pull archives of ADP, you can find value at taking a tight end number 1 because it does not matter. You need the top 3 in points. I could end up with a top 3 quarterback, with quarterback, running back, tight end, and receiver if I play out. Obviously hindsight's 2020. Looking after the fact at ADP, I could have ended up with a top 3 pick in every position if I was to draft a tight end first.
So the only reason I wouldn't agree with taking a tight end first is because, say you have, I wouldn't say 101 necessarily, maybe a little bit further down, you could get an actual true first rounder and then do what I did and took Kelsey in the second round.
Kelsey, as far as ADP, wasn't he 12? I thought he was a first rounder. That's why I said take him 101, because it's not like I'm dropping far.
Do you still have the list?
I do. Let me scroll.
Okay, I want to see this because it's crazy to think a tight end would be in the first round.
Kelsey was 206,
and that is about where I got Kelsey at this past year. I don't know if it was redraft or if it was. I believe it was redraft that I got him.
Okay, and who was your third pick?
My third pick, oh my goodness.
So because I know you took Lamar in the first, you took Kelsey in the second, and figure out who you took in the third. At 101, you could have taken Kelsey and had the number 1 overall tight end.
Okay.
In the second round, you could have taken Allen and had the number 2 quarterback based on our ADP. And then you could have taken, let's see, if you look at ADP here, you could have had wide receivers. You could have had Mike Evans that was still in the third. You could have had Justin Jefferson, who still would have been there in the third. You could have had Fournette in the third.
Hold timeout. I'm calling a timeout on the field. So no, I did not get Kelsey in redraft. It was Dynasty.
So you're lying to me then.
You're
a liar.
I said I did not know. Yes, I have Travis Kelsey in Dynasty. And Dynasty was the league where I took Lamar first round, got Kelsey second round.
We can't really compare that, right? I mean, there's different draft strategies to taking redraft versus Dynasty. That's why we stated that it was redraft ADP.
That's what you get, okay?
Moving on. 302, Drew Brees.
Hold on. Give me a second. Can I at least?
So while His Highness, before he reacts to his mentor, his legend, Drew Brees, I'd say it'd be very difficult to draft a retired player. So I don't think he'll be there for anybody to grab at 302.
So real quick, I'm just gonna say, Kevin, joke's on you. I didn't have a third round pick. I believe that was because I drafted up in the first round, but my fourth round pick, which was at 407, was Adam Thielen.
And that didn't turn out so well for you. I don't know, where did he finish up? I know everybody wants to talk about Jefferson and how well of a season he had, but where did Thielen actually end up at?
Not far behind him. I think they were close.
Listen, I understand that it's average bros, but I can still be a stat guy here.
So
I'm flopping back and forth.
Damien says by taking Kelsey mid-first round, you're reaching almost every single time when you could have Cook or Henry and Kelsey in the second round in the normal ADP. That's fine because average draft position goes off of people's projections and runs in redraft. As I said before, I really don't care about runs because I have taken Brady in the 6th round and waited on quarterbacks because I see people letting people fall, or jumping ahead of time and taking Allen in the 3rd round when ADP could have him much further down, and you ruin ADP by doing that. It's just like people taking defenses or kickers in the 5th and 6th round instead of waiting like I do till the last 2 rounds. So to me, I personally, and I will say this, I personally don't care about ADP because I try to stick to my own personal evaluation of players. Hence why we are now offering an auction league, which is much easier to do that in than going off of redraft and runs. But I digress.
So Adam Thielen, 10th overall.
Okay. That was a quiet 10th, then, I would say, because I mean, I had to ask the question.
So Josh, 302, Drew Brees.
I'm gonna say he drops to undrafted because he's not coming back.
Yes,
he's heading to the couch.
303, Miles Sanders.
I'm disgusted by that guy.
I'm sorry, who is that?
I don't.
Miles Sanders.
The hype is just not. I mean, the hype has been there for him, and it just never has panned out. Right?
It's never showed up.
I don't know that he's ever going to. I could see easily him dropping as somebody's second running back or flex nowadays. He's definitely not a top 12 guy anymore, even in the 3rd round. Okay,
now let me ask you this. What about now after bringing in the guy that turned Taylor into what he was with the Colts, because this is their offensive coordinator as the Eagles head coach?
Colts had the best offensive line in the NFL this year. Philadelphia does not. And we're looking at similar situations going in 2021. So
I think they have arguably one of the worst.
Yeah, they could have.
So
Yeah, I just no.
I agree. I agree regardless. I think Miles Sanders drops. I was just asking
Yeah,
if that changed your mind any.
no, not at all. It does not matter what that the talent might still be there, but those guys around him that are still going to open up those holes for him and stuff like that. No.
Damien chimes in once again and asks Eckler or Sanders.
Are we talking a healthy Eckler? Like, can he stay healthy all season?
Healthy both, as long as they both have injury issues, so regardless. So Eckler or Sanders, as they are.
Oh,
They
well
both
then
have injury issues.
Yeah, here's the problem with that, though. I think Eckler consistently misses more time than Sanders has so far. I'm pretty sure Eckler's been in the league a year or so longer, too, right? So, God, where did they finish this year? Eckler missed most of the year, right? I drafted him in the 3rd round.
So, yeah, I'm already on it. So, Miles Sanders, 24th overall with 179 or about 180 and missed 4 games. Austin Eckler, 29 with 161. However, he missed 6 games all in a row.
Spots behind him with that many more missed games. So, I mean, I like Eckler. There's a reason I drafted him. So, I'm going to say if I had to choose, you're going to hold a gun to my head, I'm taking Eckler.
I will say, though, Eckler does have the higher average as well. So Eckler is behind Sanders, but Eckler has a 16.1 average. Sanders has a 14.9 average.
Yeah, I agree with both. I would say I don't want either this year, but I have to choose. It would be Eckler.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on down the list, 304, Matty Ice.
I think Matty Ice is not going to be in Atlanta next year, unfortunately. I don't know if Sean's still out.
He's not a free agent.
Yeah, if Sean's still out there, I'd love to hear Sean's opinion on this and where he thinks that Matt Ice will be next year. But you know what? I think some of this depends on what happens with Julio as well. I think there's some question marks around him. But I will say that even without Julio there, they have a good group of wide receivers. I think between Calvin Ridley and the other 2 guys that stepped up this year for them, they had no run game. That was the problem that they had there. They went out and got
no knees Gurley.
There you go, no knees Gurley, and yeah, you have to have that running game to establish the passing game. I don't care that we moved over to 5,000-yard quarterbacks or not. You still have to have it, and they never had it.
Josh?
I'm going to say he drops.
I'm going to say that he drops as well. I think more on name recognition than anything of other quarterbacks coming up, just the big pop plays. I don't think Ryan – I think he'll be more middle of the pack where he should have been. I think 3 was early to take him. He was probably taken because of the Julio effect, as he probably should be. Same with like a Dak. I don't think Dak should be that high, but people go high on him because you pair him with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper from the end of the year before. You expect him to take off. So I think that he falls back to the middle of the pack. I don't think his numbers drop off much if the receivers stay there with him, but I just think he goes back down to true evaluation out of the 3rd round. Now, before I read off some of the next couple of names, I want to go over, I know you mentioned it a little bit, of we already said some free agent wide receiver quarterbacks are out there. You said that Julio might not be there. We know that AJ Green's now a free agent. Larry Fitzgerald is retiring. So before I get to these couple names, I want to tell you who could be on new teams. AJ Green, Allen Robinson, T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, Marvin Jones, Brashard Perryman, Corey Davis, Cordell Patterson, Willie Snead, John Ross, Keenan Cole, Will Fuller, Chris Conley, Antonio Brown, Dymere Bird, Mohamed Sanu, Juju, just a couple of the bigger names that are going to be free agents out of the wide receiver position. Chris Godwin's a free agent. Kenny Gallaudet, D.D. Westbrook, all free agents next year. Alan Lazard going down the list. There is a ton of wide receivers that could be finding new homes. So that means that they could end up in a worse position, i.e., going to the Titans who only run, or end up in a better position, going to a more strong arm quarterback, like the Bills, and help their position. With that being said, we start with number 12, throwing to Mike Evans at 305.
I like him better next year than this year because if Godwin does go somewhere, there's less competition depending on what Tampa Bay does in the draft or whoever they bring in. With that same list that you just gave, though, depending on what the cap room looks like, there are great names that are on that list. My favorite one in all of that group is Allen Robinson. I would love to see him finally go on a team where he could probably flourish, I hope. Could that be Tampa Bay? I don't know. But I do believe, did we in their first 2 rounds, was Godwin already on the list in our ADP?
So I'll read these 3 off in one shot.
Okay.
So 305 Mike Evans, 306 Amari Cooper, 307 Godwin.
Okay, so they were that close with each other. I say Evans goes up a little bit. I'm trying to think of who we've already said ahead of him that I could see him leaping over. We're talking middle of the third.
And it's funny that, I've gone back and I looked at, how did they actually do? Both had injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
Both did fairly well when active. Evans led the team in touchdowns. Godwin led the team in yards.
Yep. So little foreshadowing on my side of the I had to give up a couple of players this week in the playoff challenge. We'll talk more about it tomorrow night. I went strictly with I had to pick a Tampa Bay wide receiver. And I don't think this is going to matter to anybody else. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch anybody, but I took Evans for the reasons you just said. One of them, touchdowns, and the other one is Godwin still dealing with those fingers. So I need somebody who's going to be reliable in this big game. I mean, Godwin still looked good the other night, but if I'm going to take something that's more touchdown dependent, I'm taking an Evans in this case. Do I see him moving out of the third round into the second? No. Do I see him maybe going earlier in the third round, which we're only talking 5 or 6 picks? Yeah, I can see that happening.
So I'm going to say Brady stays the same. Evans goes up a little bit because I'm just looking purely on fantasy points. So Cooper, I'm going to say he stays the same as long as Dak comes back. If Dak doesn't come back, he drops immediately. And then Godwin, I think Godwin drops. Yes, Godwin led the team in receiving yards, but still 32nd overall in fantasy points with 180.
I believe they all stay. I believe they're all right in that third round range. I can't see them dropping. If I could see them being rearranged, the 3 of them. I could see Cooper dropping back, depending on who they bring at quarterback. My issue is I believe that Brady will be back next year. Since that's the case, I believe they also bring back Godwin, who cost them only. He's coming off his rookie contract. Last year, he was paid less than $1 million. So if you sign him, this will be his first contract off the rookie deal. So I don't believe it will be much. And I'm not 100% sold if Gronk will be back, who was a 1-year deal. I'm not 100% sold especially if they win in a couple of weeks. If they win, they really don't need to bring back Antonio Brown, whose price, obviously he's a free agent. That price jumps because now he's a big deal again. I know he was hurt last week and wasn't really a reason why they got into where they're at, but he's going to command more money after having a ring, as most receivers do. So I don't see him coming back. If that's the case, then that means it's just Godwin and Evans again out of the receivers, and Scotty Miller, who is a premier third. So I don't think Scotty Miller hurts the other 2 guys' value overall enough to drop them back. So for me, I think they're staying right where they're at.
So I think, and I kind of forgot about the whole Godwin and who are we talking about?
Godwin, Evans, and Brown.
No, the Dallas's wide receiver that's in that group.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Yeah, I don't know why I was. I say all three of them stay in the third. I can see if anybody's going to drop, it's going to be Cooper and Godwin. Anybody's going to move up, it's going to be Evans.
So next we had on the list was 308, Josh Allen. I think he jumped into the first.
Yeah, that's an easy one. He's the second quarterback overall taken. Third, maybe. Some people would argue maybe fourth. I think some people would still put Kyler Murray third. What's a possibility? Does it matter if it's a tight or a super flex or a 2 QB? I don't know if that makes a difference of where he goes or whatever. But without a doubt, he is a top 5 quarterback taken next year. I don't know where he was at as far as how many quarterbacks were taken above him this year.
So we said Watson, Wilson, Mahomes, Lamar, and then him. Oh, Breeze is above him.
Matt Ryan, Tom Brady.
Ryan.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those guys. He jumps around. Definitely a top 5 next year. For me, he's a top 3.
And so the next 3 guys going down this list, Brady did not go above him. Brady is sitting at 311.
Yeah.
Allen was at 308.
I thought you just said Tom Brady.
No. Josh Allen is at 308. He's who we're debating now.
No, when we just had the one before, I thought you said we were doing like Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper.
Oh, no. Tom Brady.
No. Brady was not in that run. My mistake. I said Brady, talking about quarterbacks coming off of Matt Ryan, the real 12, throwing to Evans.
Oh, okay. So regardless, all the quarterbacks that you named and the one that comes after him, fantasy-wise, he scored more than all of them. Granted, Mahomes sat week 17, which, actually, even still, that probably wouldn't have put him over Allen. But yeah, as far as fantasy-wise, Josh Allen scored more points than everybody.
Damien's comment here is Kevin just like saying Tom Brady every chance he gets. You're not wrong. Very good comment. Great observation, Damien.
Hey, Damien, I want you to do a little bit of research, just personal knowledge for yourself. Go out and take a look at Tom Brady's stats for the first 10 years of his career, 2001 until 2011, wherever that falls. Best quarterback in that era. And then, by the way, he's now the second. He is now the first. He's the number 1 and 2 quarterbacks of all time, breaking his own numbers in the second 10 years of his career. Just saying.
I know I mentioned this to you guys before we started the show, and I saw this, and a lot of you probably see the same social media stuff that I do. Tom Brady has now participated in 18% of all Super Bowls ever played and 47% of all Super Bowls since he's entered the league. That's a crazy stat.
Even crazier, it is more likely there's a higher percentage that Tom Brady makes the Super Bowl than Steph Curry shooting and making a 3-point shot.
God, he makes me want to vomit.
Can he just retire already? Give somebody else a chance.
So speaking of which, I will read off the next 2 positions. 309, Leonard Fournette, I think falls. I think Rojo goes higher.
They have too many options, and they're constantly flip-flopping them.
Yep. 310 is Gurley, falls. I don't know why he was in the third. He's only got a half knee anyway.
He's falling to his knees.
And then 311, Tom Brady. And next to Brady's name, and I quote, Damien has retire. He wrote the same thing next to Breeze's name.
So Breeze is more believable.
311 because nobody cares. Can we go to 312? Who's at 312?
Yes. 312, probably the most controversial receiver, I would think, as far as a fantasy perspective goes, if I could speak, is Kenny Gallaudet.
Oh, never mind. I thought he was going to say somebody else.
Really go at 312?
Yes.
Wow.
Trops.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think we really depends on who ends up being there in the quarterback position.
Wait, hold on. First of all, let me even see where he was. Okay. I don't see a Kenny Gallaudet here. I see a Marvin Jones.
He was
Nope.
hurt half the year, and when he did play, it was on Stafford's bad weeks because that was when they decided to use their running backs, who they had a plethora of.
Damien says, I believe in GroupMe. I did say if you cut Brady's career in half, you would have 2 separate Hall of Fame careers. Just because it's true doesn't mean I have to accept it. High five to you, Damien.
Okay, so I'm at top 64. Nowhere to be seen. Let's go to top 100.
He'll probably be in the top 100 at his position.
Top 100.
I'm looking.
And you're looking at just receivers there?
Yeah, I'm looking at just receivers. And unless I'm completely missing him, I see names like Odell Beckham, Randall Cobb, John Brown, Traquan Smith.
Oh my gosh. As bad as
7-1.
he is with Brady, you are with Quan.
You might as well go on. You might as well do the whole 4th round.
Well, before we get into the 4th round, I figure this is a nice little break. I can tell you about my research for Josh.
Yeah, I got to grade your homework here.
He said I went back a decade. We went 2010 to 2020. Any quarterbacks that were taken from round 3 and later, are they any good? Now, this is just one man's opinion. There are some other names that I probably left off of this list that you heard them. They played some games, right? But bigger ones out here. Some of these guys are more homer picks for Kevin more than anybody because we can't really have a homer pick for the Saints because Breeze has been there since you've been alive. So in 2010, the 3rd round, we had Colt McCoy, name recognition. 2011 in the 3rd round, Ryan Mallett. Same year, 2011, in the 5th round, TJ Yates. In the 6th round, 2011, Tyrod Taylor. That's interesting. 2012, here's where it gets really, really good. 3rd round, Russell Wilson. 3rd round, Nick Foles. 4th round, Kirk Cousins. That's all 212. 2013, Matt Barkley. And Landry Jones that year in the 4th round. 2016, round 3, Jacoby Brissett. Round 4, Dak Prescott.
There it is. Yeah, I knew he was a mid-round.
And then 2018, round 3, Mason Rudolph. 2019, round 4, Stidham. And round 6, Minshew. And there was nobody worth talking about taken after the 3rd round last year's draft.
So there is potential from round 3 and on. There is potential.
But it's spotty.
Yeah.
I say this. We go back further. There was a guy at some time years ago that was taken at 199.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't have to say it. We all know who he is.
I'm surprised I didn't get any props for going back to Warner and not mentioning 199. Warner was undrafted.
I actually was surprised. I will say I was surprised you held back. I right when he started to say like, oh yeah, there's been some like late round draft picks and undrafted picks that have been good, and I'm like, oh, here it comes. I'm like, here it comes.
I as a Michigan fan, I think it goes without saying, most Michigan fans don't like Tom Brady. We just don't. I don't. So
Tom Brady was, first off, he was drafted by the Expos and went to Michigan to first play baseball.
Yep.
He was taking up baseball and kind of fell into football, just something else he could play. And he didn't even start until his senior year because there just wasn't anyone there. He's like, well, might as well. You are a senior. Why don't you start? And it was kind of a dud year. I mean, it wasn't. He didn't put up any real stats of any mention. So they have all the reason to hate him for him now having a phenomenal career, 2 careers.
I'm just gonna kind of. Brian, I'll let you get your point in.
Okay, last thing. This goes back to, has this been a 21-year soap opera? Has this been the longest WWE ever, with him coming out at 199 and all of the crazy stories that's around him and 2 Hall of Fame careers and doing it on the AFC and the NFC side, and Gronk and Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown and all of the circus that goes along with all of this? Has it really been 21 years of entertainment instead.
I think you just have to go blame Steve Mariucci.
You have to do
Call it a
what?
day. Blame Steve Mariucci. At the time, the 49ers head coach. He wanted so bad to be a 49er.
Yeah.
And Belichick said, come here, bud, I got you. I'll dry your tears.
So to save everybody the trouble and to stop Damien from falling asleep, I did my homework and just so happened to stumble upon a Mr. Kenny Gallaudet sitting at 102.
And that's just out of wide receivers.
Yes, this is just out of wide receivers. So there's an upside. He only technically played 4 games, but he has an average of 12.7. And basically on the screen here, I mean, there's guys with averages that go from 4 to 9. I mean, there's Kiki Kuti with 10. Odell Beckham had 12 as an average points, but he got injured. So there's potential, but as far as Kenny Gallaudet, he drops easily.
And I think he would drop regardless of who the quarterback is that's there. Yeah. So I'm really surprised that he was that low, though. And I would think is if we were looking at ADPs versus where they actually finished, taking away full season worth of injuries, was he the biggest bust probably in our drafts at that ADP?
I would say he's got to be up there, but and what kind of goes back, it's really tough to say because of the injuries, right? I mean, you could say CMC. I mean, the amount of games he played to the points, but when you look at the average, what did you say? 14 points a game.
12.
It's not really, to me, 14 points a game. Anything over 10, I'm looking at you every week as at least my last flex spot.
Yeah.
Over 15, you're a starter. You're a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I would more say that like CMC was an upset, Michael Thomas was an upset, just because of where they were drafted at. Like it's your first pick of the draft, and you're missing him most of the season. You're just about out of the playoffs, or at least in my case.
Yep. Yeah, Damien says Michael Thomas the biggest bust, hands down. I think when we actually brought Michael Thomas's name up when we were talking about first rounds 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I think we did bring that up and said he was probably the biggest bust of the year.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up round 3 for us. Round 4 tomorrow.
We can do 4 tomorrow. I like it.
4 tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other parting words there, Josh?
Traquan Smith is a GOAT. Kickers are people too. Let me do this. Okay. Going into the outro here. Before we return for our regularly scheduled Average Bros Fantasy Show on February 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, check out my below average brother. I think he's still over there. Sorry, I don't have the screen pulled up. And our stat guy, if he's still there, Brian. Tomorrow on the Fanatically Real broadcast at 8:30 p.m. live here on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter. And if you guys are unable to check us out live, you guys can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and all the whole shopping list that Kevin named earlier. After that, you can catch me on Twitch Friday night at 7 p.m. on the 29th. And then I think it was a toss-up of Empty Wagon. I believe Brian will have a set-in-stone answer for you guys tomorrow. However, if they are going live this weekend, it'll be Saturday morning on the East Coast at midnight on the 30th. After that, you can catch me here again on Twitch on Saturday night at on the 30th at 9 p.m. And Brian, no happy hour this week because there's a Madden game.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I'm very curious to see what this Pro Bowl celebration is going to be like on Sunday because it's kind of been quiet other than we've heard a little bit about maybe it's going to be something Madden related. I've said it in group before, and even though this is my favorite sport, it's the worst all-star game in all of professional sports. The only good thing about it is the only thing good about it is seeing it live in Hawaii 2 times while you're stationed there. So that's kind of a cool thing. But outside of that, yeah, I'm just more curious to see what the celebration is going to look like. I want to throw something back in Josh's way for your Twitch handle, make sure everybody knows that there are 2 underscores at the end of your handle name, right? To go find you?
Yes, 2 underscores.
Okay. 2 underscores after Golden Boy Gaming to make sure that they find you.
Real quick, while you mentioned the All-Star game, you talk about having no importance to a game, right? I mean, if you look at the awards that are given basketball and hockey at those times, the skills challenges, baseball plays for home field advantage. I would really like there to be no ceremonial coin flip for the Super Bowl and have a skills challenge, no game mid-season on the second bye that is probably coming in the soon future. Have it a mutual bye, every team on one given week, and make it a skills challenge for home field advantage. That's my hopes and dreams.
Somebody said something in the group me chat the other day that I thought was pretty interesting, and I think it might have been Ross Norris. I don't know if he's out there with us tonight or not, is that the Pro Bowl should be played as the Hall of Fame game, which opens the NFL season instead on that very first weekend in August, versus having 2 of those teams as it is in a preseason right now. I think 2 teams end up playing 5 games. Is that how it works out? Or they don't play in the final week because they play so early in that Hall of Fame game or something like that. And I thought that's the first time I've heard anybody ever present an idea like that. Play the Hall of Fame game as the first game of the year. But then what does that look like? Does it make the game look any different? Are we still playing a glorified game of two-hand touch? Because we're getting ready to go into a season and we don't want anybody getting hurt. I mean, but the idea of linking those 2 things together, the All-Star game with the Hall of Fame ceremonies and inductions and stuff like that, I think is kind of a cool idea.
Do you guys have any final words before we wrap this up?
Go Chiefs.
Go
Evan?
Bucks.
Oh goodness. Yeah, you guys can find out tomorrow what their official predictions are going to be. But until then, of course, we would like to thank you for watching the Average Rose Fantasy Show, sponsored by Football, Darts, and Fantasy Sports Alliance. If you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the show, and follow us on all of our social media outlets. And before we head out, I want to thank all of our sponsors: QB54, our arm and leg league sponsor; Football Darts, our broadcast sponsor; Nature Coast Tailgating, our world championship sponsor; and all of our bowl sponsors: Finger Lakes Mercantile, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, Southern Sirens Sugar Scrub, Deep South Creations, and of course the Recasts, who are the official music of the FSA. You two gentlemen, I hope you guys have an amazing night. And yeah, you guys got any final words? What?
So you guys we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll see you guys next week. Or
pretty much.
I will see you tomorrow.
I will see you tomorrow, guys. Everybody have an amazing night.
Josh, are you joining us tomorrow night?
Oh, of course.
Okay, cool. We'll see you tomorrow night.
So I will see both of you tomorrow night. Everybody have an amazing night. And remember, kickers are people too.